A reading from the Gospel according to Luke. And they said to Jesus, John's disciples, like the disciples of the Pharisees, frequently fast and pray, but your disciples eat and drink. And Jesus said to them, You cannot make the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them, can you? The days will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and then they will fast in those days. He also told them a parable. No one tears a piece from a new garment and sews it onto an old garment. Otherwise the new will be torn, and the piece from the new will not match the old. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise the new wine will burst the skins, and will be spilled, and the skins will be destroyed. But new wine must be put into fresh wineskins. And no one after drinking old wine desires new wine, but says the old is good. The word of the Lord. One of the things I hear we frequently wrestle with, I wrestle with this myself, is balancing honoring and protecting, preserving our traditions, our heritage, the things of our past that have made us who we are and are important, and also at the same time trying to embrace the changing context of our world, and we want to be relevant and real to what matters in the moment and be willing to be flexible and change. And sometimes, of course, the conflict between those two things of preserving your tradition and also embracing change. It's good to know that this is not something that new that we're wrestling with, that even the people in Jesus' time were wrestling with this. Notice that Jesus doesn't look at the Pharisees or John's disciples and criticize the way they lived. They found what worked for them in their moment, in their context, and he doesn't tell them they're wrong, even at the same time that he looks at his disciples who are doing something new and different, and he doesn't tell them they're wrong. He embraces them finding what is connecting them to Jesus and to his message. And he uses these parables of an old garment and a new garment, and he doesn't say which one is better. He does say that trying to force one onto the other may cause a tear. He does say you can't just take something, you can't just take the new garment and force it into the old and then make it be old. He does say you can't force the old garment to be new again. There are going to be certain parts of our tradition that will be lost in the past because it just doesn't work in our context of the world around us today. And there may be a grieving over that tradition that we loved, even while we can still honor that it helped shape us, form us, make us the people we are today. I very much have fond memories of many of the traditions of my church in my childhood, and I know many of you do too, where you may be tempted to want church to smell the same way it did when you were a kid, and to have the same sounds and the same rhythms that it did when you were a child, because it's familiar, it's what connected you to God. And there can be a sense of a loss in saying, even though that thing is meaningful to us, it doesn't work in our current context. And you look at the parable that he has of the wineskins, we're going to also try new things to try to meet new needs, and it's not going to work. And it's not going to work the way the old ways worked. So again, Jesus isn't trying to say the new wine is better than the old wine. He's not trying to say the new wineskins will be able to serve the purpose of the old wineskins, because they won't. We need to try to be people who embrace looking ahead and being challenged to try new things, the way Jesus challenged his disciples to try new things, to meet God where God is out there already at work in the world, just waiting for us to be willing to go out and be flexible and try something we haven't tried before. Even at the same time, I think we can also honor the traditions and see which traditions there are in our lives that are worth preserving and helping us connect us to our past, help us remember who we are. It takes careful work to hold those things in balance and to not just say, well, one is better than the other. We do this in our own very Book of Common Prayer on the shelf here, where we have both contemporary and traditional prayers, and we try to hold in balance that there's great meaning in having both tradition and innovation at the same time. It takes us being in conversation with one another and exploring what connects us with God, what connected us to God in the past, and what will connect us to God in the future. And I think in that way, we're part of carrying on a long tradition that Jesus was inviting his disciples to all the way back in Luke chapter 6, or chapter 5 rather, when he was inviting them to wrestle with the balance of honoring traditions and being flexible and learning and growing. Amen.